My name is Kyle Copeland with the Armed Citizen Project, and we're here today at Top Gun Range with Aaron. We're going to be sitting in on a training session between Aaron and our instructor Dan. So let's go inside and get started.
Dan Blackford. I'm a firearms instructor. I teach concealed handgun license classes. I've been a CHL instructor since 2002. I've been a firearms instructor since the beginning of '99. For the last 19 years, I've been in law enforcement. 17 of that is federal law enforcement. I am still currently a federal agent, Monday through Friday. That's my regular job. I work for the Office of Inspector General, and I do internal investigations on government employees. I'm also the range master for my office. I've been with them a little over 6 years. Prior to that, I spent a little over 11 years with the U.S. Secret Service. I did my time on protection. I did my time working investigations. I spent 2 years at their training center teaching firearms and control tactics. All aspects of firearms, handguns, shotguns, shoulder weapons of every shape and size. Before that, I was a police officer right here in Southeast Texas. I also hold my security instructor license, level 4. I also have my level 4 personal protection officer license, a private investigator license, and I'm an NRA instructor. In addition to that, I shoot competition in IPSC and IDPA, and up until several years ago, I did compete in some 3-gun competition. That is my qualifications.
Hi, my name is Erin. I am a single female. I live by myself. I have absolutely no previous gun experience. I think I've shot 1 gun in my entire life. And I want to be here to learn a little bit more about self-protection.
Okay, Erin, you have little to no firearms experience, so you live alone. And tell me about how you feel in the neighborhood that you live in.
You know, for the most part, I feel pretty safe, but as far as big city living goes, there have been incidences in my apartment complex. There's been a couple of muggings, like just down the stairs from me. There's been a couple of break-ins, and there's been a couple of like car robberies. But overall, I think it's relatively, I feel relatively comfortable, but I definitely don't feel super comfortable. I tend to not go out of my apartment late at night. I keep my doors locked all the time. And yeah.
Have you been a victim of crime yourself?
I have actually never had that issue. I've been very lucky in my life so far. However, I don't want to ever get to a point in my life where I have an issue and don't have any way to protect myself. It's always been a big fear of mine for my entire life, being female, that something would happen. And given the opportunity to learn how to protect myself has been something that I've been wanting to do for a while.
Well, as a woman living alone in a big city, surely you're aware of the crime that happens in your area.
Yes, I am aware of it.
You're aware of the number of sexual assaults that occur. You're aware that a number of criminals or predators, wolves as I like to call them, tend to target women.
Yes, and that is why I need some experience with protecting myself.
Do you know the statistics on crime?
No, not for this area.
Well, more especially crime involving firearms, and not just this area, but nationwide. If we go back and look at the FBI's Uniform Crime Report, where they keep actual statistics from crime that happens all across the country, we find that criminal uses a firearm in this country, on average, about 400,000 times a year to commit a crime. Now, that's not to say there's a lot more crimes being committed. There are a great number of crimes being committed without firearms. But crimes involving firearms, it's about 400,000 times a year. We also know that about 12,000 people a year get shot as a result of a criminal using that gun to commit crime. In 2011, a little over 8,000 people died as a result of that criminal using a firearm to commit a crime. And those deaths are tragic. Any death like that was unnecessary is absolutely tragic. despite all the conversation lately about children and firearms, on average in this country, about 650 kids a year get killed accidentally with a firearm. Gun safety is absolute paramount. And there's nothing that you're ever going to be able to tell a parent that lost a child that's going to provide them any kind of comfort in that accidental death. What most people don't talk about is how often an honest person, an honest citizen, just like you, minimal or no experience with a firearm at all, that has a gun, that uses that gun to protect themselves, to protect their family, or to protect their property. Now, I ask this question when I teach my classes, so I'm going to ask you, how often do you think an honest person uses a gun in this country? Just to protect themselves or their family or to protect their property?
Probably not that often.
The number is staggering. It's actually about 2.4 million times a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, over 90% of those cases are solved by brandishing the weapon or firing a warning shot. Now, what I couldn't find in the statistics, and it's not my statistics, this is congressional research. Number one, you can find it in a bill called H.R. 17, the Citizen Self-Defense Act. You can look it up in a book called More Guns, Less Crime by an author named Lott, L-O-T-T. You can go in the FBI's Uniform Crime Report and pull all the data yourself. They don't have it conveniently packaged for you. But over 90% of those cases are solved by brandishing a weapon or firing a warning shot. Now, what they never told me was the warning shot intentional or did they just miss? So that we don't know. So having a gun does work. And in most cases, simply brandishing the weapon is more than enough to stop the problem. No matter what the language barriers are, no matter what the cultural differences are, when you stick a gun in a man's face, it says stop. Okay? Now, almost 200,000 incidents of that 2.4 million are women defending themselves against sexual assault. Okay. And having a gun does work. And a single woman having a gun, in my opinion, is vital. Okay. You have to protect yourself. Law enforcement in this country, despite their best efforts, they have no obligation, no duty to protect an individual citizen. Their job is to protect the public in general. So, yes, having a gun absolutely works. Okay. So we're going to start talking about what this gun is. Right? We're going to talk about some of the parts of it and how we operate this gun. And then we're going to go out and get a little bit of range time on it.
Okay, sounds good.
This is a H&R or Harrington and Richardson 20 gauge. Right? It's a single shot, what we call a breakover, meaning you push the button, open it, and load it from the rear. A couple of things about it. We have, of course, our barrel, fore end, front sight. We have, if we break it up into two parts, right, then we have our stock, our trigger group, hammer, and then our top switch, which is what we press to open the action on this gun. The rounds load in from the rear, one shot at a time. Once it's loaded in, close the action, cock the firearm, and when you press the trigger, you get your single shot. Once it fires, you press on your top switch, crack it open, the round will pop out. It may pop out completely, it may just slide out a little, sometimes you have to grab them and pull them out. It's a smooth bore, meaning it doesn't have any rifling in it, so you're not going to get a long distance shot with a shotgun. Shotguns are made for up close. The great thing about it is you don't have to be a good shooter to shoot a shotgun. You point it in the general area, put the bead, your front BB, your front sight, somewhere near the center of your target and press the trigger.